I'm Justin from Loud Crowd. This is Haley from Skinny Tan. We're excited to talk to you today about some of the both challenges and opportunities that brands have to leverage social as, a tool for awareness, of course, but directly commerce as well. To kick things off, would love to poll the audience. Raise your hand if you've ever tagged a brand in one of your personal social posts. Yeah, just about everybody. And that's actually a new trend. People didn't do that, certainly not 10 years ago. In the last couple years, it's really become common, and that's because social's evolved. It's a place where people share about their favorite products. They discover, of course, products from their friends, from content creators that they love and that they follow. And it's directly shoppable now as well on a lot of the major platforms. So this has really raised the importance of social for brands as directly a sales channel that has to be prioritized. It hasn't been easy though. The algorithms have been constantly changing, and this affects the way that brands can engage with consumers and help drive those purchase decisions. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube have had over 20 algorithm changes in the last year alone. That's crazy. A lot of the social managers in the room, you've probably noticed your brand posts they've been hurt. The reach has gone down, the engagement's gone down. It's frustrating. But that's because the algorithm changes, they've really been prioritizing, well, at least what the social networks want to call authenticity. And that's content that prioritizes engagement. Really high engagement rate content is what all the algorithms are pushing into people's social feeds. And so that has the natural trend of prioritizing user-generated content, UGC, from more regular people. And that makes sense, though, right? For people where a higher percentage of their followers, they actually know them, that's your friends, that's your family, you're more likely to engage with that content, and that's good for the platforms. They want that engagement, they want you having, being on their platform, having a good time, not jumping to something else. So what does that mean for a brand? Well, you can't rely on your own posts anymore. And you also actually can't rely on collabs with large-scale influencers the way you used to be able to solve the brand awareness and reach problem. You need to create a strategy that thinks about your community holistically. So working with micro-influencers, all the way down to just regular customers, people that love your products, when they post and share that, their friends, their followers, they trust them. So that's going to have the biggest impact on purchase behavior of any other type of content that could be created about you. It's not easy, though, to create like an army of organic social posters. They have smaller follower counts, so their scale on their own is going to be smaller. We have to be able to work with a lot of people. The cost structures that are typical to traditional influencer partnerships don't work on these small scales. And it's just a ton of work. So you need to create ways to automate the workflows while thanking people, engaging them, making sure that they feel appreciated when they're creating content about you. And I think one trend that's prevalent across all creator types is retention. It is a ton of work to constantly find new people to collab with. And so high-value people that are creating great content, sharing about your awesome brand, we need to make the relationship less transactional and something that is cultivated over time, so they're continuing to share how much they love you. So that sort of sets the stage for a discussion which I'm excited to have with Haley from Skinny Tan. We're going to talk a little bit about the UGC program that we've helped Haley and Skinny Tan to build. But before we dive in on that, Haley, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, maybe share a little bit about what makes Skinny Tan unique.
Sure. So Skinny Tan is a fake tan brand. We've been around for nearly 10 years. And really, we were one of the sort of first UGC-driven brands. Before it was cool, before it was a strategy, before it was a marketing tool, we started off with two mums that went on Dragon's Den with a great idea. And because they didn't have a lot of money, they didn't have a big marketing team, the only thing that they could rely on was real women using the products and showcasing real results. So our entire brand is built off this idea that real women love our product and they recommend it to their friends and they want to show off a great tan. If you feel good, you want to share that picture. So it's really, really an integral part of everything we do is actually relying on our customers to showcase the results. We use UGC through every single touch point. It's very rare for us to kind of go off and have a really glossy photo shoot. Actually, our UGC forms the basis of obviously all of our kind of social content, but also all of our web imagery, all of our advertising, a lot of the stuff that we do with press, everything comes from our customer. So it's been really important for us to enhance that and really ensure that we're driving that forward to encourage more and more content. And that's where Loud Crowd comes in.
Yeah, tell us, about the Social Squad. What encouraged you, made you want to create a program to engage, more of your regular customers to share about you?
Sure. So like I say, UGC has always been part of who we are as a brand. And it really came from a place of how can we drive that further? How can we encourage more of our customers to share and create more content as well, like per individual influencer or just regular people. We also saved down a lot of that content. So just from a logistical point of view, we were looking for a tool to help actually segment that content, enable us to tag in individual products, to tag in the different levels of influencer that we were working with, and also really track what was happening so that we could sort of compare like for like against, our seasonality. We are obviously a very seasonal brand. Our peak season is kind of from April to September, as everyone's kind of out and showing off their skin, and that does drop down for the rest of the year. So we wanted a tool that could kind of encompass all of that, but also just really encourage that extra content to be created.
And just to give everyone a little bit of background, the idea of the Social Squad is, I think most people these days aspire at least to feel like an influencer. And so the Social Squad is that opportunity for anyone to be able to join the squad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be able to get recognized when they're posting about you.
Absolutely. So we launched our Social Squad just over a year ago, and essentially it's a reward program, not in the traditional sense where you get points. It's essentially you tag us in your content, and for every tag you build up to a reward. So you can see from the presentation, this varies from discount codes right the way up to kind of free products, and these are updated really frequently as well. And this is automated, so I don't have to kind of spend the resource on having people manually go through every single post and work out, is that a post that needs to be rewarded? How do I get them the product? It's all kind of automated. And this program really allows us to not only focus on the influencers that are already engaging with us, but also those that just tag us in that one-off piece of content that's a gem, that we really want to make them feel special, and we want to ensure that they're tagging us in more content and sharing their great tan results. So it's been a really great tool to enable us to grow that.
Yeah, and I know, a large piece of it is, it's not even necessarily the reward. Sometimes it's just the thank you. I think people really crave that recognition from their favorite brands.
Absolutely. I mean, we all know that if you get regrammed by a brand, it's kind of like a little special moment, isn't it? Everybody loves to see their post on a brand feed. And sometimes that is the reward in itself. The actual product rewards are like an added bonus to that. Actually, what's really important is the conversation that they have with our community management team. We ensure that we reply to every single post that we're tagged in, every single DM that we have, just as absolute standard. And our Social Squad is really just about making those people that love our brand and buy into our brand feel as special as they possibly can be. And that's what makes us stand out against our competitors. We are like one of the smaller ones of the top 5 tanning brands, but our customer service is second to none. Our influencer relationships are second to none. And the value of our tagged content is far superior to brands that are much, much bigger than us.
Have you gotten feedback directly from Social Squad members? Have they kind of
Yeah.
reached out about the program?
Yeah, definitely. I think they just love feeling valued. They love feeling part of something, and we've now added them all to our close friends on Instagram. So we try and kind of once a week, once a fortnight, offer them something unique and an added benefit, whether or not that's a first look at a new product that we're launching, an extra reward, an incentive to go off and create Halloween-based content. So there's always an extra reason for them to feel engaged, and I think they just feel valued. I was an influencer myself for 10 years, and I know like how hard it is to juggle what you want to do with kind of the pressures of the brand. We try and flip that and almost say, it's up to you what you create. We're really grateful for what you tag us in, but actually it's down to you to kind of have the creative freedom to do what you want to do with the products and the tools at your disposal.
As someone that is an influencer, a lot of times in engaging sort of regular customers, their content quality isn't necessarily going to be the same as your aesthetic. How do you reconcile that piece?
Sure. I guess there are two sides to that. We do offer some kind of tips and tricks of like, these are really great ways to create a photo. This is how you have great lighting. These are examples of content that we love. But also, we're a brand that's not so fussed about having like the perfect image. As long as you look joyful and you've got a great tan, we're going to use the picture. It's not about having the most perfect curated feed. I mean, if you look at our feed, it's very different from our competitors. There are real people on there with, slightly dodgy lighting sometimes. We don't expect people to have like a full setup in their house. Like, that's not what we're about. We're selling real products to real people, and that's what we want to reflect.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that's important. But a lot of brands, I think, when I talk to them, that's a concern of theirs. What would you say to other brands that are considering leaning more into UGC from micros even down just to regular customers? I mean, what are some of the things that you would recommend for them in evaluating if that's the right move for them?
Sure. I think it's just more authentic and more real than curating something that would be a traditional sort of marketing outlet. We've all worked in traditional marketing. My background, when I was at university, Facebook didn't even exist, showing my age there. But, we're all used to having glossy billboards and fantastic TV ads. And I know that it can be a bit scary stepping into the unknown. But actually, in 2022, that's what's going to sell your product. If you can look and feel authentic and, your customers can feel like they're getting real results that aren't photoshopped, that aren't airbrushed, that are real, they're going to believe what you're saying way more than, something that you can fake in a studio. And I think that's really, really valuable. And this translates into sales as well. Like, social shopping is a huge, huge part of what we do. That's where we make the volume of our sales. We are available on the high street, in Boots, Superdrug, all of the digital retailers, but actually the volume of sales comes through our own website and through social media. That is where we make the bulk of our sales.
And as a piece of that, I mean, it sounds like you have a very loyal customer. Do you find that when people are part of the social squad, does that affect their loyalty as well?
Definitely, because they're getting something back and they're feeling part of a special club. And we do see, very few of them go off and work with other brands. Like, to be totally transparent, they do stick with us. They love what we do. Every time we launch a new product, they're so excited about it. And we do paid influencer activity, but this is all unpaid. Like, this is all organic, unpaid content that we're getting. And the value of it is huge just because of that loyalty and of that relationship that we've built.
And I think that's important for brands, right? It's not about just doing one thing. It's about having that holistic approach because, there is value, a ton of value in working with great content creators. They're going to bring their creativity, their follower counts, their reach, but, there's just a little bit of fatigue from some of the overly glossy influencer content. And I think by, engaging your entire community all the way down to the customers, you're able to create a content engine that's able to speak to the full diverse community that you're trying to
Absolutely.
target.
And this is like one part of a much bigger strategy that we have. We work with lots of different influencers in lots of different ways. Our ambassador, Liberty Paul, was on Love Island. She's got 1.5 million followers. You know, we've worked with her to reach that kind of mega influencer level. She's been really great at kind of building awareness and being able to utilize her channels, but also from a traditional press point of view, we've been able to actually gain a lot of press coverage by working with her as an influencer. We then have a kind of mid-range of influencers that we work with on more kind of long-term projects, and we do paid activity, but also the value of these kind of micro and nano influencers is they're the ones that are generating the content that we can use in our advertising, which is making us money.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, I want to make sure we've got a lot of time for questions from the audience, so we can kind of go to sort of the takeaways, which I know it's been really frustrating for a lot of brands. The algorithm changes, but by focusing on engagement rates and leaning in on micro influencers, I think there's a lot of opportunity for brands to kind of work with the algorithms instead of against them. Leaning in on those customers, that's very rewarding. And then, creator retention is a big strategy focus for all of our brands as well. It's, once again, just so much work to constantly find new people, and the authenticity is going to go up if you engage with someone and really pull them in and make them an actual ambassador of your brand over time. Well, let's go to the Q&A. Any questions from the audience?
I was wondering, do you educate your social squad, the people that you work with? Do you create tutorials for them, or you bring them to events where you kind of, move the quality of what they produce up a notch?
Yeah, absolutely. We have like an influencer funnel, and they start at the bottom. Once we kind of identify that these are great ambassadors, they're creating great content, they're really passionate about the brand, they then move up to the next level where they're invited to kind of digital events, get involved in our product launches. They then sort of get handed over to our PR agency, so they have that regular content, and they move up the funnel that way. So absolutely, like the social squad isn't there as kind of an isolated entity, like it's part of a much bigger kind of overall influencer funnel.
Hey, I was just wondering, you said that to track the social squad isn't manual. I was wondering what program you use to track them, and is it as simple as once they've done that first post, they get an email straight away that says 30% off? How does it work?
Yeah, do you want me to?
So they're using the LoudCrowd platform, which is able to see anytime anyone posts, not just social squad members, and then automatically triggers an email that comes not from Haley, but from Skinny Tan that thanks them. And no one knows LoudCrowd exists. That's important for us. It's really an organic.
Yeah, it all looks like it comes from Skinny Tan, and like once you've set it up, everything is kind of automated for you. So there are those email flows. Once we get tagged into a post, that's automated, so that the algorithm identifies like, have they filled the criteria? Yep, it gets approved. Once they hit a certain level, they get an automated email with discount codes, which they can then redeem on our website. I have a team that will go through and kind of double check everything, but all of that process is automated within the program. And for us as well, just enabling the sort of functionality of being able to tag the different products, so we know like what is what. Being able to refer back to kind of, these are all of our Halloween posts from previous years so we can find them. It's just a really good like search engine for influencer content as well.
In your opinion, does working with the social squad work better than micro or macro influencers?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last bit of that question.
Sorry. In your opinion, does working with the social squad work better than working with macro or micro influencers? So in your opinion, what works the best and what drives the most results?
Yeah, really good question. I don't think anything works better than anything else. It's a part of like a bigger piece of activity that we do. So some of our social squad members will also be on our PR list. They'll also be part of our VLP content creators. So for us, it's like the holistic view that we take to influencers and how we integrate them into our business rather than saying the social squad works better than X, Y, and Z, if that makes sense.
I think there's members in the social squad that are micro influencers, so those aren't like fully exclusive things.
Yeah. Thank you. Lots of hands.
Well, thank you. I would like to ask you how you deal with negative comments and tags if it's all automated. If you get some negative review, how does it work? Thanks.
So our community management isn't automated. We have a team of 2, and their full-time job is literally to kind of manage our social pages. So they're there as real people to kind of answer any customer queries, deal with any kind of negative feedback. So that element isn't automated. That's all done on a personal level. And again, like that's a really important part of like who we are as a brand, that you can DM us and ask us a question, particularly on tanning. Like we've all had a fake tan fail. We've all messed it up. So you can imagine how many people will message and be like, oh my God, I've got a wedding, like I've just messed up my fake tan, how do I fix it? Or I'm new to tanning, like what do I start with? And we've got a team of people that will answer those questions. So that's a really powerful tool as well.
Hi, I was just wondering, how do you communicate to the audience about the social squad's involvement? Like, do they have to tag it gifted, or if it's just a discount, how does that work?
Yeah, good question. We have a set of guidelines whereby if we obviously gift a product, we expect people to kind of declare in the appropriate way. But a lot of this is actually them buying their own products and just tagging us in their organic content. So we do kind of communicate once, obviously it's a free product or it's a reward that needs to be declared. But the rest of it, it's kind of a grey area where they're obviously doing it to get a reward, but they're not being kind of incentivized for that individual post.
And just to add, because we work with brands that are in a lot of highly regulated industries like alcohol brands, and so depending on the program, there is a review structure to make sure the right disclosures are in place before something of certainly high value would be sent to someone. So there are checks and balances.
Thanks. Mine's actually similar to the last question. I was wondering how you deal with, say, somebody buys your product, they're not part of the squad yet, and they post a picture. If you were to use that in your advertising, do you have to contact them and get contracts signed and things like that? I just wondered how, because all your advertising is based on these people posting real posts, do you have to declare that somehow? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the T's and C's within Social Squad when you sign up is that you're actually signing up to allow us to use those images within our kind of advertising and social. But we also go one extra step, and we, with our community managers, will reach out, and every single post we use, we will have had a conversation with that influencer. And the platform actually allows us to tag that, so we can actually click on a picture and it says, we've asked permission, this is what they're wearing, and you're good to kind of use it in these ways. That's really important for us.
Well, I know we're running short on time, so we'll take just one more question, I guess, from the audience.
Hi. That graph that you shared, there are a lot of interesting peaks and troughs after the launch of Social Squad. Do you have any insight into were there particular activations that you did to get things back up, and what caused the dips?
Sure. So the biggest increases have just come from those one-to-one conversations that our community team are having with people to drive the sign up. What we've actually noticed is we utilize our social platforms and our database of sort of 400,000 people to encourage people to sign up to the Social Squad. But what's driving that sign up and what's driving conversion is actual human interaction and those human conversations in the Instagram inbox. So as soon as we engaged our community managers to start having those one-on-one conversations, we saw a massive rise. And I think that just goes back into the idea that social is all great and automation is great, but actually what it's built on is those, one-on-one conversations and human interactions, even if they're behind an Instagram account.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day's sessions.